Well, the Phillies took the day off, but the A's sure didn't.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans, and welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about your Oakland A's all year long. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. We are doing a live feed today, so please feel free to throw some comments in the comments section. We're not going to have many games like this, so let's cherish it a little bit. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for a while now, and this is my sixth full season here at the Locked On Podcast Network, and my first year hosting Locked On A's. I've been usually the host of Locked On MLB. Hey, follow us on Locked On A's on Twitter or on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And today's show is brought to you by Bookie.com, Bookie.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Bookie.com for your stay today. Someone was complaining about the openings are too long. Sorry, got to do business at the top. But we're going to talk about it right now. Technically, Sunday's game was a come-from-behind victory. If you want to get right down to it, the A's came from behind to win on Sunday because Trey Turner homered in the first. They're up 1-0. 1-0 down, and it was all the joy of winning that first game of the series and back and forth on Saturday. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And into the fourth, it was still a 1-0 game. There was a little bit of suspicion on my part, the fact that Keckering started the first, and then Mercado came in. Of all the familiar pitchers on the Phillies, they were basically doing a bullpen game, but I was like, oh, come on, A's. They're taking the day off. The Phillies are taking the day off. You could see that early on, that this was like, hey, this is the last day before the All-Star break. We're going to do an opener, and, we're probably going to empty the bench. And like, come on, show us something. And it started simply in the Brent Rooker got his 20th home run. And, as our buddy Jesus M says, Rooker on fire. By the way, Lorenzo UFC says, what up, Sully? I'm up, getting this podcast in the can. So Rooker gets 20 home runs, as if to say, hey, I really think I'm an all-star. And by the way, Clay Holmes blew another save for the Yankees. Can we remove Clay Holmes from the all-star roster and replace him with Brent Rooker, who is clearly an all-star now? Well, look, if Brent Rooker was trying to audition for the Phillies, get your headshot ready, Brett. You did a good audition there. Then Lawrence Butler came out and he homered in the fifth. And so at that point, it's 4-1. And 4-1 going to the sixth is still not exactly a blowout territory. Estes was pitching well, but like, okay, let's come on, let's add to this. And remember, I said, please just avoid the big inning and see if you can find ways to win other than home runs. Well, the A's didn't take that part of it because Brent Rooker homered again. And then Seth Brown said, that looks fun, and he homered. So at that point, it's 7-1. And I'm thinking, okay, 7-1, you should pretty much feel okay with that. How many of you thought when the Phillies chipped away and made it 7-3, how many of you thought that maybe this is going to be one of those games where they had a 7-1 lead and then da? Hands up, I did. I totally did. I was gripping. I was driving to meet some friends in San Francisco today, and I was listening to the game on the radio. I was listening to A's Cast on the radio as I was driving up, 960, I think it is. and I was gripping the steering wheel as I was driving into San Francisco, thinking, oh, no. I really want to do a podcast where the A's won the series. Then Lawrence Butler hit a home run, which I'm not convinced landed. I do think it burned up in the atmosphere. And then Brett Rooker wanted to hit another home run, but guess what? It just was a sac fly. At that point, it was 10-3. I will admit, when it got to 10-3, I relaxed a little bit. I thought, I think they're going to hold on to a 10-3 lead. Then Seth Brown said, hey, I want another home run, and he homered again. And then Lawrence Butler said, I want another home run. And it was the remember the Bugs Bunny cartoon where Bugs Bunny had to replace the Easter Bunny, and there was that bratty kid going, I want Easter egg, I want Easter egg. Well, that was the A's lineup today. I want a home run. I want a home run. And then Seth Brown singled, and Zach Geloff hit his grand slam. I know those count in the standings. I know those count in the stats. But at that point, the Phillies were throwing Stubbs, their catcher. And also at that point, Harper and Trey Turner, everyone, they were in the showers. I think they already had their Hawaiian shirts on. They were drinking a pina colada. It was basically a spring training game by the end. It was clear by the end, certainly when the A's scored 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, 3 in the 6th, 3 in the 7th, and 3 in the 8th. It was clear at that point, when it was 13-3, that the Phillies were done. We're done. And I maintain that there should be a option for a team to wave the white flag. If you're bringing in a position player to pitch, you're waving the white flag. You're saying, we're done. We're done. But what if the Stubbs, the catcher, hurt himself tossing up there? Or what if someone got hurt running the bases and everything like that? I know, what if? But if the other team is giving up at that point, then give up. You should be able to have that option. JR makes the point, which always comes up whenever. Let me get my lower third. By now, I'm Sully. If you don't know I'm Sully by now, I really don't know what to do with you. JR, where is it? Wish the A's would have saved those runs for other games where they seem completely to forget how to hit the ball and make a ton of errors. Yeah, JR, I know, but it doesn't work that way. I was there for the game when the A's scored 20 runs on the Marlins, and then they lost the next day. I wish it worked that way, but this is not, there's not the money in the bank at this point. But by the way, I said they had a position player in that pitch in that game too. I'm not a fan. When I kind of groan a little bit now when I see position players pitch. I've made this point before, but it used to be kind of a fun novelty, but now it's part of strategy, and I'm not a fan. Not a fan of that. But I tell you what I am a fan of. 18-3 wins. I'm a fan of, let's go down the line. Butler was the player of the game. He hit 3 home runs off of pitchers and drove in 6 runs at the leadoff spot. Jesus M brings up and said, Butler, legit leadoff or just the now? Well, guess what? He was a leadoff hitter today. How do you want your leadoff hitter to do? Well, he got 3 hits and scored 3 runs and drove in 6. There you go. Bleudet, 3 for 4 runs batted in. He got on base 4 times. Rooker obviously hit the 2 home runs, drove in 5, and walked. Rooker was taken out in the 9th inning. And Brown, he got 2 home runs. He went 3 for 5. Geloff hit a grand slam, but come on. It was off a pitcher. And Shubin went 2 for 3 with a walk. And Estes wound up going 6 innings. Needless to say, they didn't need Miller for this one. McFarland threw a shutout inning. Ferguson threw a shutout inning. Muller threw a shutout inning. And there you go. You can't ask for more than that. The A's went into Philadelphia. Let's just back this up a little bit. The A's went into Philadelphia after the Philadelphia Phillies just won an emotional sweep of the Los Angeles Dodgers, primarily their key competitors for the National League pennant. They swept them, welcomed the A's into their home park, where if you gave them truth serum, especially after the wake of the Dodgers series, if you gave all the Phillies players truth serum, eventually they would say, yeah, we got this. The A's, we can beat them with one arm tied behind our back because we just swept LA. And the A's punched them right in the mouth. And again, that's going to be the key. Punch them right in the mouth. Win game one and put them on their heels. And even though the Phillies bats exploded yesterday, wasn't enough. They still had to win today. And I knew when I saw TBA was pitching, TBA. When TBA was pitching, I thought ooh, they may be playing their B game. And so the A's, I don't care if they play their B game. The A's were down 1-0 going into the fourth. They still had to win the game. And they did. They went to Philadelphia. They took 2 out of 3. Folks, this is what the A's have to do. This is how the A's are going to make the rest of this year somewhat fun. And as we look forward to the future. And speaking of the future, we get back, I'm going to introduce you to the brand new A's. That's right. We've got new A's. Let's hear a little bit from our friends over at FanDuel. Look, I love sports. Sports are great. A few weeks ago was one of the best time for sports because we had the Stanley Cup Finals, the NBA Finals, and baseball going on. All right, there's not as many sports going on there, but FanDuel lets me keep my sports Jones going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime that I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, let's talk to our friends over at PrizePicks. If I could give it, you know what PrizePicks is. If you've been listening to this podcast long enough, you know that PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. They've got over 6 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you versus the numbers. Get it on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community. All you have to do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player projections and watch the earnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. And PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Download the PrizePicks app and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. In the end, it's really that easy. Hey, where is your hub for all your sports info, sports news, sports takes? Can I recommend making the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring the biggest stories in all of sports. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. People are still in the chat. What do we got here? Is the A's are building something with this young team. Maybe, or they could tear everything down. The fact that Mason Miller is probably going to be traded. Well, I mean, the team's not going to be here next year. They'll be in Sacramento. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. JR writes, says exactly what I was thinking. Rooker was auditioning for the Phillies and definitely made a huge impression these last 3 games. Yeah. Start forking over some prospects there. Even though he's still under team control for a little bit, he's probably gone. So the A's made some picks. They have the number 4 pick overall. the number 40 pick overall, and the number 73 pick overall in the Major League Baseball draft. And so we have 3 new names pumped into the farm system. And 2 of them were teammates. So I actually think that's kind of neat that 2 players who played together on the same college team are now being drafted into the A's organization. So wherever they wind up, they're probably going to be teammates there. And I hope they're friends. I assume they're friends. I don't know. Maybe they hated each other on the team. I don't know the answer to that. Neither do you. But let's review who the A's drafted in the first round. The first pick over, the 4th pick overall, the top pick went to the Cleveland Guardians. But with the number 4 overall pick, the A's drafted a first baseman named Nick Kurtz. Nick Kurtz. Now, first basemen are kind of strange to pick this high because you think you could probably, get a first baseman or convert a third baseman. But I'll tell you something. I don't know. I wouldn't know Nick Kurtz from Colonel Kurtz in Apocalypse Now. And he may be a great pick or he may be a Busterino. I don't know, and neither do you. But the A's need to get the type of hitters that you can build a team around, those young phenom hitters. And if the A's are looking for something for some of the chips that they're going to deal, Andujar is gone, Rooker is probably gone. Some other players, they're going to be dealing players. We all know that. So Kurtz is hopefully going to be the type of mashing power hitter that the A's could really use right now. He was from Wake Forest University, and a couple of things reading about him. He came into the draft as the number 7 pick overall, and he was originally going to be a pitcher for Wake Forest, but then it just showed he had great power and could hit tons of home runs. He's a 21-year-old, has above average power, and he doesn't have much speed, but they're hoping he could be a masher and be the type of player who is going to be the type of player who can build your lineup around. Well, for the other top 2 picks that the A's made, one they did with the number 40 overall pick and one with the number 73 overall pick, they picked teammates from Louisiana State University. Now, one of them they got was Tommy White, who is a third baseman and another power hitter. Again, I'm not sure if Kurtz or Tommy White, whose nickname is Tommy Tanks. Boy, I so wish the A's could keep playing. You'd be able to have Tommy Tanks playing in Oakland. Think about the banners you could have for Tommy Tanks. I want Tommy Tanks to be a success, if for no other reason than to say the A's. Who's coming up next? It's Tommy Tanks. Well, you're going to have Nick Kurtz and Tommy Tanks. I'm just like to say Tommy Tanks. His real name is Tommy White, but what are you going to do? He's a power hitter. He's from LSU, and he is a third baseman, right-handed power hitter who is hopefully going to be someone who, becomes a big slugger. Now, his teammate on LSU was the other pick they had relatively high in the draft. With a 73 overall pick, they got Gage Jump. That sounds like a command. Gage Jump. He's a starting pitcher who missed the entire 2023 season. He had Tommy John surgery. So I don't know, maybe the left-hander already got the inevitable Tommy John surgery out of the way. Apparently he's got a great curveball and is friends with Tommy Tanks. One thing I noticed is the A's drafted high and they had economy in syllables in the last name because they drafted White, Jump, and Kurtz. One syllable names, boom, boom, and boom. Now, I don't know how these are all going to pan out. Neither do you. But the fact of the matter is, the A's just inserted 3 college-level players into their farm system. And that could give you an idea of their mindset. Look, the A's are gone. We know they're gone. We know they're going to Sacramento. I don't know what it means, the Sacramento move means in terms of longevity of the team. But they need to have players young players, controllable players on their contract who could be a factor on the team 3 or 4 years from now. If they are going through this Vegas thing, which I'm still skeptical about, they need to have a quality team on the field in Vegas. If they're going to stay in Sacramento and build a new ballpark in Sacramento, which I think is more likely to happen than the A's moving to Vegas, they still need to have players to build the team around. They still need, if they're going to trade away some players, they're going to get, hopefully you're going to get decent prospects back, but people aren't going to give up their foundational prospects for essentially a rental. So they're not going to get the same haul that the Padres got for Juan Soto. So the fact of the matter is your foundational players are going to have to come through the draft. So Kurtz, Tommy Tanks, Gage Jump. We'll see how they turn out. Hopefully those 3 names are going to be 3 names that you link together for a long time. I remember the Red Sox had a bunch of drafts in the middle of the 2000s where they would get Buchholz and Ellsbury and a bunch of other players who wound up playing on the major league level in the same draft. So hopefully the A's will have that because as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, they've had enough busts with their drafts over the last bunch of years. Jesus, you ask a great question. They draft replacement players for the current players who maybe bust or get traded. I don't think the A's can afford to be that Machiavellian, Jesus. I think they just have to go draft whoever's the best player available. We went through this already. Yeah, they have a couple of decent players in their farm system, and I think you made one of you made a comment. Yeah, you made a comment about Jacob Wilson somewhere in the chat. They only have like 1 or maybe 2 only one's in the MLB top 100, and the other Max Muncy looks like a decent prospect in there, but the cupboard's bare. They got to start stocking it. So let's see if this draft is the beginning of something. We come back. I'm going to talk to you about some final thoughts and an observation about what I'm seeing and why I'm hoping that if not a playoff team is emerging here, at least a team that is somewhat fun. Today's episode of Locked On A's is brought to you by Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Hey, I mentioned this the other day when I did this read, but it's worth mentioning. I had a great baseball trip recently. I went to upstate New York. I went to Buffalo. By the way, Buffalo, great city, beautiful city. I'm not kidding. And I had a wonderful time in Buffalo, saw a Buffalo Bison's game, and stayed downtown. Then what did I do after that? Off I went to Syracuse, saw the Syracuse Mets play. And then off I went to Cooperstown, had a magical couple of days in Cooperstown. Well, guess what? Each time I had a great place to stay. And it was all through Booking.com. I had a fantastic hotel in downtown, the beautiful downtown of Buffalo. I had a marvelously safe hotel in Syracuse near the campus, and then a fantastic little bed and breakfast where I stayed at that was walking distance to the lake and the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. I got it all through Booking.com and the best deals. Let me tell you something. With hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you're going to find the perfect stay, even in your rival city. The right stay can make you a fan of any city. Even your rivals, as I mentioned, because they got hotels that overlook stadiums and family-friendly results. They have so many choices, Booking.com, all across the United States. Book your stay today at Booking.com or on the site of Booking.com app. Booking.com, what is that? I think you mean Booking.yeah. Hey, this is a reminder that Locked On has created the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. It's available on YouTube and it's streaming on the free Amazon Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today brings all the best talents of the Locked On Podcast Network, from the local shows to the national shows. Check out Locked On Sports Today, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. So, the final All-Star break of the Oakland A's in their history. And let's see if we could see more games like this. Let's see if we see more games where the A's put the other teams on their heels. Let's see if we could see more games where the A's are showing that, hey, we're not necessarily pushovers. You're going to have to beat us. We're not just waiting for you to clobber us. You've circled the A's on your schedule as an easy win, and let's not have them be easy wins. Here's one thing that I find kind of fun about how the A's have looked this July. First of all, they're going into the All-Star break with a winning month in July. They've played, they're 8-5 in the month of July. They're 3 games above 500. Here's the other thing I like. In June, the disastrous month of June, they went 7-10, or 7-20. In May, the equally disastrous month of May, they went 9-19. Going into the All-Star break, they have already topped the June win total, and they're 1 behind the May win total. They've already shown that they're better than they are the last couple of months. And their record through the end of April was 14-17, which is not great, but obviously not disastrous. And remember, they were 500 in early May. They're not going to be 500 this year, but let's have little goals. What if they have a winning July? That's my goal for this team. Be spoilers. Make teams regret that they took them easily. The Phillies took this team easily. We saw that. Game 1, the A's punched them right in the mouth and put them on their heels. So let's have some more fun like that and aim for a winning July. And it's going to be a little easier to get a winning July in one sense because they're not going to play as many games. They're already 3 games above 500. And they've already shown that they could, top a good team every once in a while. They went into the home of the team with the best record in baseball, and look what they did. They took 2 out of 3. So they got the Angels coming up. They swept them. They always play. How many times the A's going to play the Angels? They have 3 games. They have 7 games with the Angels coming up soon, plus 3 games against the Houston Astros. Then they go across the bay to the Giants. So there you go. Let's get to July 31st before the Dodgers come into town on the 2nd and see the A's with a winning record. So follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Thank you all who were involved in the live stream for taking advantage. Thanks for all your comments. And have a fun All-Star break. I'm still going to put up episodes. We've still got 3 more episodes for this week. So check it out. This has been Locked On A's. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.